Dedication and Preface of the Dog's Book of Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. The Dog's Book of Verse, collected by J. Earl Clauson. Dedication and Preface. I never barked when out of season, I never bit without a reason. I ne'er insulted weaker brother, nor wronged by fraud or force another. Though brutes are placed a rank below, happy for man could he say so. To the memory of Jack and Airedale. Matthew Arnold, explaining why those were his most popular poems, which dealt with his canine pets, Geist, Kaiser, and Max, said that while comparatively few loved poetry, nearly everyone loved dogs. The literature of the Anglo-Saxon is rich in tributes to the dog, as becomes a race which beyond any other has understood and developed its four-footed companions. Canine heroes whose intelligence and faithfulness our prose writers have celebrated start to the memory in scores. Bill Sykes' White Shadow, which refused to be separated from its master even by death. Rab, savagely devoted. The immortal Bob, son of battle. True souls all, with hardly a villain among them for artistic contrast. Even Red Wull, the killer, we admire for his courage and lealty. Within these covers is a selection from a large body of dog verse. It is a selection made on the principle of human appeal. Dialect and the poems of the earlier writers, whose diction strikes oddly on our modern ears, have for the most part been omitted. The place of such classics as may be missed is filled by that vagrant verse which is often most truly the flower of inspiration. End of Preface. Part 1 of A Dog's Book of Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. A Dog's Book of Verse, collected by J. Earl Clauson. Part 1, Puppyhood. What other nature yours than of a child, whose dumbness finds a voice mighty to call, in wordless pity, to the souls of all, whose lives I turn to profit, and whose mute and constant friendship links the man and the brute? We Meet at Morn, by Hardwick Drummond Rawnsley. Still half in a dream upon the stair, I hear a patter coming nearer and more near, and then upon my chamber door a gentle tapping, for dogs, though proud, are poor, and if a tail will do to give a command, why use a hand? And after that a cry, half sneeze, half yapping, and next a scuffle on the passage floor, and then I know the creature lies to watch until the noiseless maid will lift the latch. And like a spring that gains its power by being tightly stayed, the impatient thing into the room its whole glad heart doth fling, and ere the gloom melts into light, and window blinds are rolled, I hear a bounce upon the bed, I feel a creeping toward me, a soft head, and on my face a tender nose, and cold. This is the way, you know, that dogs embrace, and on my hand, like sun-warmed rose leaves flung, the least faint flicker of the warmest tongue. And so my dog and I have met and sworn fresh love and fealty for another morn. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lost Puppy by Henry Firth Wood. Read for LibriVox.org by Michelle Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Say, little pup, what's up? Your tail is down and out of sight between your legs. Why, that ain't right. Little pup, brace up. Say, little pup, look up. Don't hang your head and look so sad. You're all mussed up, but you ain't mad, little pup. Cheer up. Say, little pup, stir up. Is that a string around your tail, and was it fast to a tin pail? Little pup, get up. Say, little pup, talk up. Were those bad boys all after you, with sticks and stones and tin cans too? Little pup, speak up. Say, little pup, stand up. Let's look at you. You'll be all right if you was scrubbed and shined up bright. Little pup, jump up. Say, little pup, bark up. Let's hear your voice. Say, you're a brick. Now try to beg and do a trick, little pup. Sit up. Say, little pup, chime up. Why, you can sing. Now come with me. Let's wash and eat, and then we'll see, little pup, what's up. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Laugh in Church by Anonymous, read for LibriVox.org by Sinead Vaughan. She sat on the sliding cushion, the dear wee woman of 4, her feet in their shiny slippers hung dangling over the floor. She meant to be good, she had promised, and so with her big brown eyes, she stared at the meeting-house windows and counted the crawling flies. She looked far up at the preacher, but she thought of the honeybees droning away at the blossoms that whitened the cherry trees. She thought of a broken basket where, curled in a dusky heap, 4 sleek round puppies with fringy ears lay snuggled and fast asleep. Such soft warm bodies to cuddle, such queer little hearts to beat, such swift round tongues to kiss, such sprawling cushiony feet. She could feel in her clasping fingers the touch of the satiny skin, and a cold wet nose exploring the dimples under her chin. Then a sudden ripple of laughter ran over the parted lips, so quick that she could not catch it with her rosy fingertips. The people whispered, "Bless the child," as each one waked from a nap, but the dear wee woman hid her face for shame in her mother's lap. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Treasures by Anonymous, read for LibriVox.org by Michelle Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They got a brand new baby at Bud Rick's house, you see. You'd think Bud Rick's had something, the way he talks to me. He comes around a-bragging, and when he wouldn't quit, I said, "What good's a baby? You can't hunt fleas on it." Then Bud turned to me and told me how loud that kid could yell, and lots I can't remember, he had so much to tell. But I got tired of hearing, and so I asked him quick, if you was in a-swimming, could it go get a stick? There is no use of talking. Bud thinks their baby's fine. Huh, I'd a whole lot rather just have a pup like mine. I'll bet it's not bald-headed, but if Bud doesn't fail to let me hear it yelling, I'll let him pull Spot's tail. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. That There Long Dog by Alice Gill Ferguson, read for LibriVox.org by Michelle Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Funniest little feller you'd ever want to see, browner'n the brownest leaf in the autumn tree, shortest little bow legs, just barely touch the floor, and long, b'gosh, the longest dog I ever seen afore. But he's mighty amusing for all that he's so queer, eyes so mighty solemn, asking like and clear, and when he puts his paws up, head stuck on one side, just naturally love every hair in his dern Dutch hide. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ted by Maxine Anna Buck, read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. I have a little brindle dog, seal brown from tail to head. His name, I guess, is Theodore, but I just call him Ted. He's only 8 months old today. I guess he's just a pup. Pa says he won't be larger when he is all grown up. He plays around about the house as good as he can be. He don't seem like a little dog. He's just like folks to me. And when it is my bedtime, Ma opens up the bed. Then I nestle down real cozy and just make room for Ted. And oh, how nice we cuddle! He doesn't fuss or bite, just nestles closely up to me and lays there still all night. We love each other dearly, my little Ted and me. We're just good chums together and always hope to be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Little Lost Pup by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox by Maggie Travers in Casilla, Mississippi. He was lost, not a shade of doubt of that, for he never barked at a slinking cat, but stood in the square where the wind blew raw, with a drooping ear and a trembling paw, and a mournful look in his pleading eye, and a plaintive sniff at the passer-by, that begged as plain as a tongue could sue, "Oh, mister, please may I follow you?" A lorn, wee waif of a tawny brown, adrift in the roar of a heedless town. Oh, the saddest of sights in a world of sin is a little lost pup with his tail tucked in. Well, he won my heart, for I set great store on my own red boot, who is here no more. So I whistled clear, and he trotted up, and who so glad as that small lost pup? Now he shares my board, and he owns my bed, and he fairly shouts when he hears my tread. Then if things go wrong, as they sometimes do, and the world is cold, and I'm feeling blue, he asserts his right to assuage my woes with a warm red tongue and a nice cold nose, and his silky head on my arm or knee, and a paw as soft as a paw can be. When we rove the woods for a league about, he's as full of pranks as a school let out, for he romps and frisks like a 3 months' colt, and he runs me down like a thunderbolt. Oh, the blithest of sights in the world so fair is a gay little pup with his tail in air. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Brindle Bull-terrier by Coletta Ryan. Read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. My Brindle Bull-terrier, loving and wise, with his little screw tail and his wonderful eyes, with his white little breast and his white little paws, which, alas, he mistakes very often for claws, with his sad little gait as he comes from the fight, when he feels that he hasn't done all that he might. Oh, so fearless of man, yet afraid of a frog, my near little, queer little, dear little dog. He shivers and shakes with the cold. He huddles and cuddles, though 3 summers old, and forsaking the sunshine, endeavours to rove, with his cold little worriments, under the stove. At table, his majesty, dying for meat, yet never despising a lump that is sweet, sits close by my side with his head on my knee, and steals every good resolution from me. How can I withhold from those worshipping eyes a small bit of something that stealthily flies down under the table and into his mouth, as I tell my dear neighbour of life in the South? My near little, queer little, dear little dog, so fearless of man, yet afraid of a frog, the nearest and queerest and dearest of all, the race that is loving and winning and small, the sweetest, most faithful, the truest and best, dispenser of merriment, love, and unrest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Lauth by Robert Burns. Read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. He was a gash and faithful tyke, as ever lapped a shoe or dyke. His honest Swansea bossant face, I gat him friends in ilka place. His breast was white, his towsy back, weel clad wi' coat o' glossy black. His gauntsy tail, wi' upward curl, hung o'er his hurdies wi' a swirl. End of poem. The Drowned Spaniel by Charles Tennyson Turner. The day-long bluster of the storm was o'er, the sands were bright, the winds had fallen asleep, and from the far horizon o'er the deep, the sunset swam unshadowed to the shore. High up the rainbow had not passed away, when roving o'er the shingle beach I found a little waif, a spaniel newly drowned. The shining waters kissed him as he lay. In some kind heart thy gentle memory dwells, I said, and though thy latest aspect tells of drowning pains and mortal agony, thy master's self might weep and smile to see his little dog stretched on these rosy shells betwixt the rainbow and the rosy sea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Part 2 of A Dog's Book of Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. A Dog's Book of Verse by J. Earl Clauson. Part 2, The Human Relationship. A man's dog stands by him in prosperity and in poverty, in health and in sickness. He will sleep on the cold ground, where the wintry winds blow and the snow drives fiercely, if only he can be near his master's side. He will kiss the hand that has no food to offer. He will lick the wounds and sores that come in encounter with the roughness of the world. When all other friends desert, he remains. When riches take wings and reputation falls to pieces, he is as constant in his love as the sun in its journey through the heavens. Senator George Graham West. Cluny by William Croswell Doane. I am quite sure he thinks that I am God, since he is God on whom each one depends for life and all things that has bounty sends, my dear old dog, most constant of all friends. Not quick to mind, but quicker far than I to him whom God I know and own. His eye, deep brown and liquid, watches for my nod. He is more patient underneath the rod than I, when God his wise correction sends. He looks love at me deep as words e'er spake, and from me never crumb or sup will take, but he wags thanks with his most vocal tail. And when some crashing noise wakes all his fear, he is content and quiet if I'm near, secure that my protection will prevail. So, faithful, mindful, thankful, trustful, he tells me what I unto my God should be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Best Friend by Mirabet Abbott, read for LibriVox.org by Sinead Vaughan. If I was sad, then he had grief as well, seeking my hands with soft insistent paw, searching my face with anxious eyes that saw more than my halting human speech could tell. Eyes wide with wisdom, fine, compassionate, dear, loyal one that knew not wrong nor hate. If I made merry, then how he would strive to show his joy. Good master, let's to play, the world is ours, that gladsome bark would say. Just yours and mine, 'tis fun to be alive. Our world, 4 walls above the city's din, my crutch the bar that ever held us in. Whate'er my mood, the fretful word or sweet, the swift command, the wheedling undertone, his faith was fixed, his love was mine alone, his heaven was here at my slow crippled feet. O friend thrice lost, O fond heart unassailed, ye taught me trust when man's dull logic failed. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Dog and I by Alice J. Claytor. Read for LibriVox.org by Michelle Fry, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. When living seems but little worth and all things go awry, I close the door. We journey forth, my dog and I. For books and pen we leave behind, but little careth he. His one great joy in life is just to be with me. He notes by just one upward glance my mental attitude, as on we go past laughing stream and singing wood. The soft winds have a magic touch that brings to care release. The trees are vocal with delight, the rivers sing of peace. How good it is to be alive! Nature, the healer strong, has set each pulse with life athrill, and joy and song. Discouragement? 'Twas but a name, and all things that annoy. Out in the lovely world of June, life seemeth only joy. And ere we reach the busy town, like birds my troubles fly. We are two comrades glad of heart, my dog and I. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Gentleman by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Maggie Travers in Casilla, Mississippi. I own a dog who is a gentleman, by birth most surely, since the creature can boast of a pedigree the like of which holds not a Howard nor a Metternich. By breeding, since the walks of life he trods, he never wagged an unkind tale abroad. He never snubbed a nameless cur because without a friend or credit card he was. By pride, he looks you squarely in the face, unshrinking and without a single trace of either diffidence or arrogant assertion, such as upstarts often flaunt. By tenderness, the littlest girl may tear with absolute impunity his hair, and pinch his silken, flowing ears, the while he smiles upon her. Yes, I've seen him smile. By loyalty, no truer friend than he has come to prove his friendship's worth to me. He does not fear the master, knows no fear, but loves the man who is his master here. By countenance, if there be nobler eyes, more full of honor and honesties, in finer head, on broader shoulders found, then have I never met the man or hound. Here is the motto of my lifeboat's log: God, grant I may be worthy of my dog. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dead Boy's Portrait and His Dog by Gerald Massey. Read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. Day after day I have come and sat beseechingly upon the mat, wistfully wondering where you are at. Why have they placed you on the wall, so deathly still, so strangely tall? You do not turn from me, nor call. Why do I never hear my name? Why are you fastened in a frame? You are the same, and not the same. Away from me, why do you stare so far out in the distance where I am not, I am here, not there? What has your little doggy done? You used to whistle me to run beside you or ahead for fun. You used to pat me, and a glow of pleasure through my life would go. How is it that I shiver so? My tail was once a waving flag of welcome, now I cannot wag it for the weight I have to drag. I know not what has come to me, 'tis only in my sleep I see things smiling as they used to be. I do not dare to bark, I plead, but dumbly, and you never heed, nor my protection seem to need. I watch the door, I watch the gate, I am watching early, watching late, your doggy still, I watch and wait. End of poem. Advice to a Dog Painter by Jonathan Swift. Happiest of the Spaniel race, painter with thy colours' grace, draw his forehead large and high, draw his blue and humid eye, draw his neck so smooth and round, little neck with ribbons bound, and the muesli swelling breast, where the loves and graces rest, and the spreading, even back, soft and sleek and glossy black, and the tail that gently twines, like the tendrils of the vines, and the silky twisted hair, shadowing thick the velvet ears, which, hanging low, o'er the veiny temples flow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mercy's Reward by Sir Edwin Arnold. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Hast seen the record written of Salah ud-Din the Sultan? How he met, upon a day, in his own city on the public way, a woman whom they led to die? The veil was stripped from off her weeping face, and pale her shamed cheeks were, and wild her fixed eye, and her lips drawn with terror at the cry of the harsh people, and the rugged stones borne in their hands to break her flesh and bones. For the law stood that sinners, such as she, perish by stoning, and this doom must be. So went the adulteress to her death. High noon it was, and the hot Khamsin's breath blew from the desert sands and parched the town. The crows gasped, and the kine went up and down with lolling tongues. The camels moaned, the crowd pressed with their pitchers, wrangling high and loud about the tank. And one dog by a well, nigh dead with thirst, lay where he yelped and fell, glaring upon the water out of reach, and praying succour in a silent speech, so piteous were its eyes. Which, when she saw, this woman from her foot her shoe did draw, albeit death sorrowful, and, looping up the long silk of her girdle, made a cup of the heel's hollow, and thus let it sink until it touched the cool black water's brink, so filled the embroidered shoe, and gave a draught to the spent beast, which whined and fawned and quaffed, her kind gift to the dregs, next licked her hand, with such glad looks that all might understand he held his life from her. Then at her feet he followed close, all down the cruel street, her one friend in that city. But the king, riding within his litter, marked this thing, and how the woman on her way to die had such compassion for the misery of that parched hound. Take off her chain, and place the veil once more about the sinner's face, and lead her to her house in peace, he said. The law is that the people stone thee dead for that which thou hast wrought, but there is come fawning around thy feet a witness dumb, not heard upon my trial. This brute beast testifies for thee, sister, whose weak breast death could not make ungentle. I hold rule in Allah's stead, who is the merciful, and hope for mercy. Therefore go thou free, I dare not show less pity unto thee. As we forgive, and more than we, Yabar, good God, show clemency. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Beau and the Water Lily by William Cowper, read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. The noon was shady, and soft airs swept Ouse's silent tide. When, scaped from literary cares, I wandered on his side. My spaniel, prettiest of his race, and high in pedigree, two nymphs adorned with every grace that spaniel found for me. Now wantoned, lost in flags and reeds, now starting into sight, pursued the swallow o'er the meads, with scarce a slower flight. It was the time that Ouse displayed his lilies newly blown, their beauties I intent surveyed, and one I wished my own. With cane extended far I sought to steer it close to land, but still the prize, though nearly caught, escaped my eager hand. Beau marked my unsuccessful pains with fixed considerate face, and puzzling set his puppy brains to comprehend the case. But with a chirrup, clear and strong, dispersing all his dream, I thence withdrew and followed long the windings of the stream. My ramble ended, I returned, Beau trotting far before, the floating wreath again discerned, and, plunging, left the shore. I saw him with that lily cropped, impatient swim to meet my quick approach, and soon he dropped the treasure at my feet. Charmed with the sight, the world, I cried, shall hear of this thy deed. My dog shall mortify the pride of man's superior breed. But chief myself I will enjoin, awake at duty's call, to show a love as prompt as thine to him who gives me all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Petronius by Frederick P. Ladd. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. A dog there was, Petronius by name, a cur of no degree, yet which the same rejoiced him, because so worthless he, that in his worthlessness remarkably he shone example deluxe of how a cur may be the very limit of a slur upon the honored name of dog, a joke. He was a satire blasphemous, he broke the records all for sheer insulting bunk. No dog had ever breathed who was so punk. And yet that cur, Petronius by name, enkindled in his master's heart a flame of love, affection, reverence so rare, that had he been an angel, bright and fair, the homage paid him had been less, you see. The red-haired boy who owned him had a bee. There was no other dog on land or sea. Petronius was solid, he just was the dog, the only dog on earth, because a red-haired boy who likes his dog, he likes that dog so much no other dog exists, and that, my friends, is loyalty, than which there is no grander ecstasy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Dog by Joseph M. Anderson, read for LibriVox.org by Diana Schmidt, April 5th, 2015. Here's a friend who proves his worth without conceit or pride of birth. Let want or plenty play the host, he gets the least and gives the most. He's just a dog. He's ever faithful, kind, and true. He never questions what I do, and whether I may go or stay, he's always ready to obey. 'Cause he's a dog. Such meager fare his want supplies, a hand caress, and from his eyes there beams more love than mortals know. Meanwhile he wags his tail to show that he's my dog. He watches me all through the day, and nothing coaxes him away. And through the night long slumber deep, he guards the home wherein I sleep. And he's a dog. I wonder if I'd be content to follow where my master went, and where he rode as needs he must, would I run after in his dust, like other dogs. How strange if things were quite reversed, the man debased, the dog put first. I often wonder how 'twould be, were he the master 'stead of me, and I the dog. A world of deep devotion lies behind the windows of his eyes, yet love is only half his charm. He'd die to shield my life from harm. Yet he's a dog. If dogs were fashioned out of men, what breed of dog would I have been? And would I e'er deserve caress, or be extolled for faithfulness? Like my dog here, as mortals go, how few possess of courage, trust, and faithfulness, enough from which to undertake, without some borrowed traits to make, a decent dog. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Charity's Eye by William Ronceville Alger. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. One evening Jesus lingered in the marketplace, teaching the people parables of truth and grace, when in the square remote a crowd was seen to rise, and stop with loathing gestures and abhorring cries. The Master and his meek disciples went to see what cause for this commotion and disgust could be, and found a poor dead dog beside the gutter laid, revolting sight, at which each face its hate betrayed. One held his nose, one shut his eyes, one turned away, and all among themselves began to say, "Detested creature, he pollutes the earth and air. His eyes are blear, his ears are foul, his ribs are bare. In his torn hide there's not a decent shoestring left. No doubt the execrable cur was hung for theft." Then Jesus spake, and dropped on him the saving wreath. Even pearls are dark before the whiteness of his teeth. The pelting crowd grew silent and ashamed like one, rebuked by sight of wisdom higher than his own. And one exclaimed, "No creature so accursed can be, but some good thing in him a loving eye will see." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Blanco by J. G. Holland. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. My dear, dumb friend, low lying there, a willing vassal at my feet, glad partner of my home and fare, my shadow in the street, I look into your great brown eyes, where love and loyal homage shine, and wonder where the difference lies between your soul and mine. For all of good that I have found within myself or humankind hath royally informed and crowned your gentle heart and mind. I scan the whole broad earth around for that one heart which, leal and true, bears friendship without end or bound, and find the prize in you. I trust you as I trust the stars, nor cruel loss, nor scoff, nor pride, nor beggary, nor dungeon bars can move you from my side. As patient under injury as any Christian saint of old, as gentle as a lamb with me, but with your brothers bold, more playful than a frolic boy, more watchful than a sentinel, by day and night your constant joy, to guard and please me well. I clasp your head upon my breast, the while you whine and lick my hand, and thus our friendship is confessed, and thus we understand. Ah, Blanco, did I worship God as truly as you worship me, or follow where my master trod with your humility? Did I sit fondly at his feet, as you, dear Blanco, sit at mine, and watch him with a love as sweet, my life would grow divine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ould Hound by Arthur Stringer. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. When Shamus made shift wid a turf hut, he'd nought but a hound to his name, and whither he went trailed the old friend, dog faithful and ever the same. And he'd gnaw through a rope in the night time, he'd eat through a wall or a door, he'd swim through a loch in the winter, to be with his master once more. And the two, faith, would share their last bannock, they'd share their last collop and bone, and deep In the staring old sad eyes lean Shamus would stare with his own. And loose hung the flanks of the old hound when Shamus lay sick on his bed. Aye, waiting and watching with sad eyes, he'd eat not of bone or of bread. But Shamus be springtime grew better, and a trouble came into his mind, and he'd take himself off to the village, and be leaving his hound behind. And deep was the whine of the old dog, with a love that was deeper than life. But be Michaelmas, faith it was whispered that Shamus was taking a wife. A wife and a fine house he got him, in a shay he went driving around, and I met him bechance at the crossroads, and I says to him, how's the old hound? My wife never took to that old dog, says he with a shrug of his slats, so we've got us a new dog from Galway, and och, he's the divil for rats. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Miser's Only Friend by George Crabbe. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. There watched a cur before the miser's gate, a very cur whom all men seemed to hate. Gaunt, shaggy, savage, with an eye that shone like a live coal, and he possessed but one. His bark was wild and eager, and became that meagre body and that eye of flame. His master prized him much, and Fang his name. His master fed him largely, but not that, nor aught of kindness made the snarler fat. Flesh he devoured, but not a bit would stay. He barked and snarled and growled it all away. His ribs were seen extended like a rack, and coarse red hair hung roughly o'er his back. Lamed in one leg, and bruised in wars of yore, now his sore body made his temper sore. Such was the friend of him who could not find, nor make him one 'mong creatures of his kind. Brave deeds of Fang his master often told, the son of fury, famed in deeds of old. From snatch and rabid sprung, and noted they. In earlier times each dog will have his day. The notes of Fang were to his master known, and dear they bore some likeness to his own, for both conveyed to the experienced ear, I snarl and bite because I hate and fear. None passed ungreeted by the master's door. Fang railed at all, but chiefly at the poor. And when the nights were stormy, cold and dark, the act of Fang was a perpetual bark. But though the master loved the growl of Fang, there were who vowed the ugly cur to hang, whose angry master, watchful for his friend, as strongly vowed his servant to defend. In one dark night, and such as Fang before was ever known its tempests to outroar, to his protector's wonder now expressed, no angry notes, his anger was at rest. The wondering master sought the silent yard, left Phoebe sleeping and his door unbarred, nor more returned to that forsaken bed. But lo! the morning came, and he was dead. Fang and his master side by side were laid, in grim repose, their debt to nature paid. The master's hand upon the cur's cold chest was now reclined, and had before been pressed, as if he sought how deep and wide the wound that laid such spirit in a sleep so sound. And when he found it was the sleep of death, a sympathizing sorrow stopped his breath. Close to his trusty servant he was found, as cold his body, and his sleep as sound. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Poor Dog Tray by Thomas Campbell. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. On the green banks of Shannon, when Sheila was nigh, no blithe Irish lad was as happy as I. No harp like my own could so cheerily play, and wherever I went was my poor dog Tray. When at last I was forced from my Sheila to part, she said, while the sorrow was big at her heart, "Oh, remember your Sheila when far, far away, and be kind, my dear Pat, to our poor dog Tray." Poor dog, he was faithful and kind, to be sure, and he constantly loved me, although I was poor. When the sour-looking folks sent me heartless away, I had always a friend in my poor dog Tray. When the road was so dark, and the night was so cold, and Pat and his dog were grown weary and old, how snugly we slept in my old coat of gray, and he licked me for kindness, my poor dog Tray. Though my wallet was scant, I remembered his case, nor refused my last crust to his pitiful face. But he died at my feet on a cold winter's day, and I played a lament for my poor dog Tray. Where now shall I go, poor forsaken and blind? Can I find one to guide me, so faithful and kind? To my sweet native village, so far, far away, I can ne'er more return with my poor dog Tray. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Comforter. Read for LibriVox.org by Linda Doherty. The world had gone all wrong that day, and tired and in despair, discouraged with the ways of life, I sank into my chair. A soft caress fell on my cheek. My hands were thrust apart, and two big sympathizing eyes gazed down into my heart. I had a friend. What cared I now for 50 worlds? I knew one heart was anxious when I grieved. My dog's heart, loyal, true, God bless him, breathed I, soft and low, and hugged him close and tight. One lingering lick upon my ear, and we were happy, quite. End of poem. The Little White Dog by May Ellis Nichols. Little white dog with the meek brown eyes, tell me the boon that most you prize. Would a juicy bone meet your heart's desire? Or a cozy rug by a blazing fire? Or a sudden race with a truant cat? Or a gentle word? Or a friendly pat? Is the worn-out ball you have always near the dearest of all the things held dear? Or is the home you left behind the dream of bliss to your doggish mind? But the little white dog just shook his head, as if, none of these are the best, he said. A boy's clear whistle came from the street. There's a wag of the tail and a twinkle of feet. And the little white dog did not even say, "Excuse me, ma'am," as he scampered away. But I'm sure as can be his greatest joy is just to trot behind that boy. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Irish Greyhound by Catherine Phillips. Read for LibriVox.org by Noel Badrian. Behold this creature's form and state, which nature therefore did create, that to the world might be expressed what mean there can be in a beast, and that we in this shape may find a lion of another kind. For this heroic beast does seem in majesty to rival him, and yet vouchsafes to man to show both service and submission too. From whence we this distinction have, that beast is fierce, but this is brave. This dog hath so himself subdued, that hunger cannot make him rude, and his behaviour does confess true courage dwells with gentleness. With sternest wolves he dares engage, and acts on them successful rage. Yet too much courtesy may chance to put him out of countenance, when in his opposer's blood fortune hath made his virtue good. This creature from an act so brave grows not more sullen, but more brave. Man's guard he would be, not his sport, believing he hath ventured forth, but yet no blood, or shed or spent, can ever make him insolent. Few men of him to do great things have learned, and when they're done to be so unconcerned. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Vagabonds by J.T. Trowbridge. Read for LibriVox.org by Ed Humple. We are two travelers, Roger and I. Roger's my dog. Come here, you scamp, jump for the gentleman. Mind your eye. Over the table. Look out for the lamp. The rogue is growing a little old. 5 years we've tramped through wind and weather, and slept outdoors when nights were cold, and ate and drank and starved together. We've learned what comfort is, I tell you. A bed on the floor, a bit of rosin, a fire to thaw our thumbs. Poor fellow, the paw he holds up there's been frozen. Plenty of catgut for my fiddle. This outdoor business is bad for strings. Then a few nice buckwheats hot from the griddle, and Roger and I set up for kings. No, thank you, sir, I never drink. Roger and I are exceedingly moral, aren't we, Roger? See him wink? Well, something hot then, we won't quarrel. He's thirsty too. See him nod his head? What a pity, sir, that dogs can't talk. He understands every word that's said, and knows good milk from water and chalk. The truth is, sir, now I reflect, I've been so sadly given to grog, I wonder I've not lost the respect, here's to you, sir, even of my dog. But he sticks by through thick and thin, in this old coat with its empty pockets, and rags that smell of tobacco and gin. He'll follow while he has eyes in his sockets. There isn't another creature living would do it and prove through every disaster, so fond, so faithful, and so forgiving to such a miserable, thankless master. No, sir. See him wag his tail and grin. By George, it makes my old eyes water. That is, there's something in this gin that chokes a fellow. But no matter. We'll have some music if you're willing, and Roger, what a plague a cough is, sir, shall march a little. Start, you villain, paws up, eyes front, salute your officer, bout face, tension, take your rifle. Some dogs have arms, you see. Now hold your cap while the gentlemen give a trifle, to aid a poor old patriot soldier. March, halt, now show how the rebel shakes when he stands up to hear his sentence. Now tell us how many drams it takes to honor a jolly new acquaintance. 5 yelps, that's 5, he's mighty knowing. The night's before us, fill the glasses. Quick, sir, I'm ill, my brain is going. Some brandy, thank you, there, it passes. Why not reform? That's easily said. I've gone through such wretched treatment, sometimes forgetting the taste of bread, and scarce remembering what meat meant. that my poor stomach's past reform, and there are times when, mad from thinking, I'd sell out heaven for something warm to prop a horrible inward sinking. Is there a way to forget to think? At your age, sir, home, fortune, friends, a dear girl's love, but I took to drink. The same old story, you know how it ends. If you could have seen these classic features, you needn't laugh, sir. They were not then such a burning libel on God's creatures. I was one of your handsome men. If you had seen her, so fair and young, whose head was happy upon this breast, if you could have heard the songs I sung when the wine went round, you wouldn't have guessed that ever I, sir, should be straying from door to door with fiddle and dog, ragged and penniless, and playing to you tonight for a glass of grog. She's married since, a parson's wife. 'Twas better for her that we should part, better the soberest, prosiest life than a blasted home and a broken heart. Have I seen her? Once. I was weak and spent on the dusty road. A carriage stopped, but little she dreamed as on she went, who kissed the coin, that her fingers dropped. You've set me talking, sir. I'm sorry. It makes me wild to think of the change. What do you care for a beggar's story? Is it amusing? You find it strange? I had a mother so proud of me. 'Twas well she died before. Do you know if the happy spirits in heaven can see the ruin and wretchedness here below? Another glass, and strong, to deaden this pain, then Roger and I will start. I wonder, has he such a lumpish, leaden, aching thing in place of a heart? He is sad sometimes, and would weep if he could, no doubt remembering things that were. A virtuous kennel, with plenty of food, himself a sober, respectable cur. I'm better now. That glass was warming. You rascal, limber your lazy feet. We must be fiddling and performing for supper in bed, or starve in the street. Not a very gay life to lead, you think? But soon we shall go where lodgings are free, and the sleepers need neither victuals nor drink. The sooner, the better for Roger and me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. In Cineam by Sir John Davies. Read for LibriVox.org by Ed Humple. Thou dogged Cineas, hated like a dog, for still thou grumblest like a masty dog, comparest thyself to nothing but a dog. Thou sayest thou art as weary as a dog, as angry, sick, and hungry as a dog, as dull and melancholy as a dog, as lazy, sleepy, idle as a dog. But why dost thou compare thee to a dog in that for which all men despise a dog? I will compare thee better to a dog. Thou art as fair and comely as a dog. Thou art as true and honest as a dog. Thou art as kind and liberal as a dog. Thou art as wise and valiant as a dog. But Cineas, I have often heard thee tell, thou art as like thy father as may be. 'Tis like enough, and faith I like it well, but I am glad thou art not like to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Old Matthew's Dog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. I am only a dog, and I've had my day. So, idle and dreaming, stretched out I lay, in the welcome warmth of the summer sun, a poor old hunter whose work is done. Dream? Yes, indeed, though I am but a dog. Don't I dream of the partridge I sprung by the log, of the quivering hare and her desperate flight, of the nimble gray squirrel, secure in his height, far away in the top of the hickory tree, looking down safe and saucy at Matthew and me, till the hand, true and steady, a messenger shot, and the creature up bounded, and fell, and was not. Old Matthew was king of the wood rangers then, and the quails in the stubble, the ducks in the fen, the hare on the common, the birds on the bough, were afraid. They are safe enough now. For all we can harm them, old master and I. We have had our last hunt, the game must go by. While Matthew sits fashioning bows in the door, for a living will never hunt more. For time, cold and hardship have stiffened his knee, and since little Lottie died, often I see his hands tremble sorely and go to his eyes, for the lost baby daughter, so pretty and wise. Oh, it's sad to be old, and to see the blue sky look far away to the dim, fading eye, to feel the fleet foot growing weary and sore, that in forest and hamlet shall lag evermore. I am going, I hear the great wolf on my track, already around me his shadow falls black. One hunting cry more, O master, come nigh, and lay the white paw in your own as I die. O come to me, master, the last hedge is past, our tramps in the wildwood are over at last. Stoop lower and lay my head on your knee. What? Tears for a useless old hunter like me? You will see little Lottie again by and by. I shan't. They don't have any dogs in the sky. Tell her, loving and trusty, beside you I died, and bury me, master, not far from her side. For we loved little Lottie so well, you and I. Ha, master, the shadow, fire low, it is nigh. There was never a sound in the still morning heard, but the heart of the hunter his old jacket stirred, as he flung himself down on the brute's shaggy coat, and watched the faint life in its quivering throat, till it stopped quite at last, the black wolf had won, and the death-hunted hound into cover had run. But long ere the snow over graves softly fell, old Matthew was resting from labor as well, while the cottage stood empty, yet back from the hill the voice of the hound in the morn echoed still. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dog and a Man by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. He was a dog, but he stayed at home and guarded the family night and day. He was a dog that didn't roam. He lay on the porch or chased the stray, the tramps, the burglars, the hen away. For a dog's true heart for that household beat at morning and evening in cold and heat. He was a dog. He was a man, and didn't stay to cherish his wife and his children fair. He was a man, and every day his heart grew callous, its love beats rare. He thought of himself at the close of day, and cigar in his fingers hurried away to the club, the lodge, the store, the show. But he had a right to go, you know. He was a man. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Rover-dog by Marie Louise Tompkins. read for LibriVox.org by Ed Humple. Oh, Rover-dog, he toasts his toes right by the chimney fire with me. I turned his long ear wrong side out, and he was surprised as he could be. And then he reached right out and took an interest in my lollipop. That's why I shook my finger hard at him, 'cause he just better stop. I asked him which his sweet tooth was, and he just laughed and showed me where he keeps 'em up and down his mouth. I guess there's most 100 there. He's got a cunning little house, but you can't climb right in at all. Ain't hardly big enough for him. I guess it is a size too small. 'Cause when he is at home, his head stays looking out his front door. His paws hang out convenient like, so's folks they will shake hands some more. Old Rover-dog, when he likes folks, he thumps the floor hard with his tail. Where 'tis you heard that sound before is when your paw he drives a nail. One time my Uncle Fred pretend he's tramp man's and will come right in. I put my ear on Rover's back so's I could hear the growl begin. And once he thought he'd try his nap right in my grandpa's big armchair. My grandpa, he sat down on him 'cause he wa'n't 'spectin' dogs was there. And Rover walked off dignified and curled his back up against the wall. If grandpas ain't got manners, why, he isn't going to care at all. That's why I went and 'splained to him how grandpas, they ain't imperlite. A grandpa has the bestest chair because his hair is very white. And Rover-dog raise up one ear and lift his nose from off his paw and say his feelings aren't all hurt, if that was candy that he saw. And when he ate my chocolate cream, he went and finished up his dream. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Horse, Dog, and Man by S.E. Kaiser. Read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. The horse and the dog had tamed a man and fastened him to a fence. Said the horse to the dog, "For the life of me, I don't see a bit of sense in letting him have the thumbs that grow at the sides of his hands, do you?" And the dog looked solemn and shook his head and said, "I'm a goat if I do." The poor man groaned and tried to get loose, and sadly he begged them, "Stay! You will rob me of things for which I have use by cutting my thumbs away. You will spoil my looks, you will cause me pain. Ah, why would you treat me so? As I am, God made me, and He knows best. Oh, masters, pray let me go." The dog laughed out, and the horse replied, "Oh, the cutting won't hurt you. See, we'll have a hot iron to clap right on, as you did in your docking of me. God gave you your thumbs and all, but still the Creator, you know, may fail to do the artistic thing as he did in the furnishing me with a tail." So they bound the man and cut off his thumbs and were deaf to his pitiful cries. And they seared the stumps and they viewed their work through happy and dazzled eyes. "How trim he appears," the horse exclaimed, "since his awkward thumbs are gone. For the life of me, I cannot see why the Lord ever put them on." "Still it seems to me," the dog replied, "that there's something else to do. His ears look rather too long for me, and how do they look to you?" The man cried out, "Oh, spare my ears, God fashioned them as you see, and if you apply your knife to them, you'll surely disfigure me." "But you didn't disfigure me, you know," the dog decisively said, "when you bound me fast and trimmed my ears down close to the top of my head." So they let him moan, and they let him groan, while they cropped his ears away, and they praised his looks when they let him up, and proud indeed were they. But that was years and years ago, in an unlightened age. Such things are ended now, you know, we've reached a higher stage. The ears and thumbs God gave to man are his to keep and wear, and the cruel horse and dog look on, and never appear to care. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Best Dog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Yes, I went to see the bow wows, and I looked at every one. Proud dogs of each breed and strain that's underneath the sun. But not one could compare with, you may hear it with surprise, a little yellow dog, I know, that never took a prize. Not that they would have skipped him when they gave the ribbons out, had there been a class to fit him, though his lineage is in doubt. No judge of dogs could e'er resist the honest, faithful eyes of that plain little yellow dog that never took a prize. Suppose he wasn't trained to hunt, and never killed a rat, and isn't much on tricks or looks or birth. Well, what of that? That might be said of lots of folks whom men call great and wise, as well as of that yellow dog that never took a prize. It isn't what a dog can do, or what a dog may be, that hits a man. It's simply this: does he believe in me? And by that test I know there's not the compeer 'neath the skies of that plain little yellow dog that never took a prize. Oh, he's the finest little pup that ever wagged a tail, and followed man with equal joy to Congress or to jail. I'm going to start a special show, 'twill beat the world for size, for faithful little yellow dogs, and each shall have a prize. End of poem. Caesar, King Edward's Dog, by O. Middleton. No deeper, truer love could spring spontaneously from human breast than Caesar's, who has loved the king with all a dear dog's silent zest. A dog's dumb way may not impart the grief that mortals can express, but who shall say that Caesar's heart mourns his beloved king the less? Since ours the faith love lies in space, his love, whenever his soul takes wing, may be ordained by heaven's grace to reach the spirit of the king. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Just Our Dog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Sinead Vaughan. He was just a dog, mister, that's all, and all of us boys called him Bub. He was curly and not very tall, and he hadn't a tail, just a stub. His tail froze one cold night, you see. We just pulled the rest of him through. No, he didn't have much pedigree. Perhaps that was frozen off too. He always seemed quite well behaved, and he never had many bad fights. In summer he used to be shaved, and he slept in the woodshed of nights. Sometimes he would wake up too soon, and cry if his tail got a chill. Some nights he would bark at the moon, but some nights he would sleep very still. He knew how to play hide and seek, and he always would come when you'd call. He would play dead, roll over and speak, and learned it in no time at all. Sometimes he would growl just in play, but he never would bite, and his worst was to bark at the postman one day, but the postman, he barked at him first. He used to chase cats up a tree, but that was just only in fun, and a cat was as safe as could be, unless it should start out to run. Sometimes he'd chase children and throw them down just while running along, and then lick their faces to show he didn't mean anything wrong. He was chasing an automobile when the wheel hit him right in the side, and he just gave a queer little squeal, and curled up and stretched out and died. His tail, it was not very long, he was curly and not very tall, but he never did anything wrong. He was just our dog, mister, that's all. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ragged Rover by Leslie Clare Manchester. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. I have still a vision of him, Ragged Rover, as he lay in the sunshine of the morning on the doorstone worn and gray, where the honeysuckle trellis hung its tinted blossoms low, and the well sweep with its bucket swung its burden to and fro, where the maples were a quiver in the pleasant Junetime breeze, and where droned among the phloxes 100 golden bees. Yes, I have a vision with me of a home upon a hill, and my heart is sad with longing, and my eyes with teardrops fill. I would be the carefree urchin that I was so long ago, when across the sunlit meadows Rover with me used to go. Yonder where the graceful lindens threw their shadows far and cool, and the waters waited for me in the brimming swimming pool. I can see him drive the cattle from the pasture through the lane, with their mellow bells a tinkle, sending out a low refrain. I can see him drive them homeward, Speckle, Brindle, Bess and Belle, all the herd from down the valley, as the shades of even fell. Thus I wander like a pilgrim, slow the steps that once were strong, back to greet him, ragged Rover, and my childhood's ceaseless song. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Flush, My Dog, by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Read for LibriVox.org by Ed Humple. Loving friend, the gift of one who her own true faith has run through thy lower nature, be my benediction said, with my hand upon thy head, gentle fellow creature. Like a lady's ringlets brown flow thy silken ears adown, either side demurely, of thy silver-suited breast, shining out from all the rest of thy body purely. Darkly brown thy body is, till the sunshine striking this alchemize its dullness, when the sleek curls manifold flash all over into gold with a burnished fullness. Underneath my stroking hand, startled eyes of hazel bland, kindling, growing larger, up thou leanest with a spring, full of prank and curveting, leaping like a charger. Leap, thy broad tail waves a light, leap, thy slender feet are bright, canopied in fringes. Leap, those tasselled ears of thine flicker strangely, fair and fine, down their golden inches. Yet, my pretty sportive friend, little is't to such an end, that I praise thy rareness. Other dogs may be thy peers, happy in these drooping ears, and this glossy fairness. But of thee it shall be said, this dog watched beside a bed, day and night unweary, watched within a curtained room, where no sunbeam brake the gloom round the sick and dreary. Roses gathered for a vase in that chamber died space, beam and breeze resigning. This dog only waited on, knowing that, when light is gone, love remains for shining. Other dogs in thymy dew tracked the hares and followed through sunny moor or meadow. This dog only crept and crept, next a languid cheek that slept, sharing in the shadow. Other dogs of loyal cheer bounded at the whistle clear, up the woodside hieing. This dog only watched in reach of a faintly uttered speech, or a louder sighing. And if one or two quick tears dropped upon his glossy ears, or a sigh came double, up he sprang in eager haste, fawning, fondling, breathing fast, in a tender trouble. And this dog was satisfied, if a pale thin hand would glide down his dewlaps sloping, which he pushed his nose within, after, platforming his chin on the palm left open. This dog, if a friendly voice call him now to blither choice than such chamber keeping, come out, praying from the door, pressest backward as before, up against me leaping. Therefore to this dog will I, tenderly, not scornfully, render praise and favour. With my hand upon his head is my benediction said, therefore and for ever. And because he loves me so, better than his kind will do, often man or woman, back I give more love again than dogs often take of men, leaning from my human. Blessings on thee, dog of mine, pretty collars make thee fine, sugared milk may fat thee. Pleasures wag on in thy tail, hands of gentle motion fail, never more to pat thee. Downy pillow take thy head, silken coverlet bestead, sunshine help thy sleeping. No flies buzzing wake thee up, no man break thy purple cup, set for drinking deep in. Whiskered cats anointed flee, sturdy stoppers keep from thee cologne distillations. Nuts lie in thy path for stones, and thy feast day macaroons turn to daily rations. Mock I thee in wishing weal? Tears are in my eyes to feel thou art made so straitly. Blessings must needs straiten too, little canst thou joy or do, thou who lovest greatly. Yet be blessed to all the height of all good and all delight, pervious to thy nature. Only loved beyond that line, with a love that answers thine, loving fellow creature. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Francis by Richard Whiteman, read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. You were a friend, Francis, a friend, with feeling and regard and capable of woe. Oh yes, I know, you were a dog, but I was just a man. I did not buy you, no, you simply came, lost and squatted on my doorstep. The place was strange, you quivered, but stayed on, and I had need of you. No other fellow could make you follow him, for you had chosen me to be your pal. My whistle was your law. You put your paw upon my palm, and in your calm, deep eyes was writ the promise of long comradeship. When I came home from work, late and ill-tempered, always I heard the patter of your feet upon the oaken stairs. Your nose was at the door-crack, and whether I'd been bad or good that day, you fawned and loved me just the same. It was your way to understand, and if I struck you, my harsh hand was met with your caresses. You took my leavings, crumb and bone, and stuck by me through thick and thin. You were my kin. And then one day you died, and were put deep. But though you sleep, and ever sleep, I sense you at my heels. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To My Setter, Scout by Frank H. Selden, read for LibriVox.org by Domenica Campbell. You are a tried and loyal friend. The end of life will find you leal, unwary of tested bonds that naught can rend, and e'en if years be sad and dreary, our plighted friendship will extend. A truer friend man never had. 'Tis sad that 'mongst all earthly friends the fewest, unfaithful ones, should thus be clad in canine lowliness, yet truest they, be their treatment good or bad. Within your eyes methinks I find a kind and thoughtful look of speechless feeling, that memory's loosened cords unbind, and let the dreamy past come stealing through your dumb reflective mind. Scout, my trusty friend, can it be you see again in retrospective dreaming the run, the woodland, and the lea, with past autumnal sunshine streaming o'er every frost-dyed field and tree? Or do you see now once again the glen and fern, the highland and the thistle? And do you still remember when we heard the bright-eyed woodcock whistle down by the rippling shrub-edged fen? I see you turn a listening ear to hear the quail upon the flower-pied heather, but doggy, wait till uplands sere, and then the autumn's waning weather will bring the sport we hold so dear. Then we will hunt the loamy swale and trail the snipe their cunning wiles o'ercoming, and oft will flush the bevied quail and hear the partridge slowly drumming dull echoes in the leaf-strewn dale. When wooded hills with crimson light are bright, we'll stroll where trees and vines are growing, and see birds warp their southern flight at sundown when the day king's throwing sly kisses to the queen of night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Why Strik'st Thou Me? By Nathan Haskell Dole, Translator. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Why dost thou strike me, ever faithful? In service to thee do I live, and often when thou wert in peril, my very utmost would I give. My life I would lay down for thee. Why strik'st thou me? In blustering storm and cruel winter, in murky night or through the day, obedient I have trotted by thee, and guarded thee along the way. I've watched thee and protected thee. Why strik'st thou me? When flashed the robber's steel against thee, when thou wert threatened by his arm, and thou didst call for aid and rescue, who saved thee then from mortal harm? My blood flowed on the sand for thee. Why strik'st thou me? When down the sheer walls of the chasm that glooms the torrent thou didst slide, thou there had perished maimed and helpless, had I not sought thee far and wide. Myself forgetting, sought I thee. Why strik'st thou me? When on the furious billows drifting, thou heldest up a beckoning hand, and no man dared attempt to save thee, I brought thee safely to the land. From certain death I rescued thee. Why strik'st thou me? Oh, doom me not to starve and perish, the poor old Sultan do not slay. For thee too will the day soon darken, in which thy strength will fade away. Then thou wilt beg as I beg thee. Why strik'st thou me? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Consolation by Howard C. Kegley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Full dismal blows the wind without my cabin here, and many times I find myself possessed of fear. I often hear a sound, as if a stranger tried to enter here, but found the door made fast inside. The nights are filled with dread, and fancy even scrolls grey visions of the dead, ghosts of departed souls. But never near me creeps what fancy oft invites. My dog a vigil keeps throughout the awful nights. End of poem. Argus by Alexander Pope. When wise Ulysses from his native coast, long kept by wars, and long by tempests tossed, arrived at last, poor, old, despised, alone, to all his friends, and even his queen, unknown. Changed as he was, with age, and toils, and cares, furrowed his reverend face, and white his hairs, in his own palace forced to ask for bread, scorned by those slaves his former bounty fed, forgot of all his own domestic crew, his faithful dog his rightful master knew, unfed, unhoused, neglected on the clay, like an old servant, now cashiered, he lay. And though even then expiring on the plain, touched with resentment of ungrateful man, and longing to behold his ancient lord again, him when he saw he rose and crawled to meet, 'twas all he could, and fawned and kissed his feet, seized with dumb joy, then falling by his side, owned his returning lord, looked up, and died. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Chained in the Yard by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. 'Twas only a dog in a kennel, and little noise he made, but it seemed to me, as I heard it, I knew what that old dog said. Another long month to get over. Will nobody loosen my chain? Just for a run round the meadow, then fasten me up again. Give me my old life of freedom. Give me a plunge and a swim, a dash and a dive in the river, a shake and a splash on the brim. I patted his head and spoke kindly. I thought that his case was heard. Oh, give him a run in the open, your dog chained up in the yard. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Why the Dog's Nose is Cold by Margaret A. Tinge. Read for LibriVox.org by J. Gelstrom. What makes the dog's nose always cold? I'll try to tell you, curls of gold, if you will sit upon my knee, and very good and quiet be. Well, years and years and years ago, how many, I don't really know, there came a rain on sea and shore. Its like was never seen before or since. It fell unceasing down till all the world began to drown. But just before it down did pour, an old man, his name was Noah, built him an ark, that he might save his family from a watery grave. And in it also he designed to shelter two of every kind of beast. Well, dear, when it was done, and heavy clouds obscured the sun, the Noah folks to it quickly ran, and then the animals began to gravely march along in pairs, the leopards, tigers, wolves, and bears, the deer, the hippopotamuses, the rabbits, squirrels, elks, walruses, the camels, goats, and cats and donkeys, the tall giraffes, the beavers, monkeys, the rats, the big rhinoceroses, the dromedaries and the horses, the sheep, the mice, the kangaroos, hyenas, elephants, kadoos, and many more. 'Twould take all day, my dear, the very names to say. And at the very, very end of the procession, by his friend and master, faithful dog was seen. The lifelong time he'd hoped been to drive the crowd of creatures in, and now with loud exultant bark he gaily sprang aboard the bark. Alas, so crowded was the space, he could not in it find a place. So patiently he turned about, stood halfway in and halfway out, in those extremely heavy showers, descended through 900 hours, and more, and darling at their close, most frozen was his honest nose. and never could it lose again the dampness of that dreadful rain, and that is what my curls of gold made all the doggies' noses cold. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dog Language by J. Earl Clauson. Read for LibriVox by Roxanne Weber. RoxanneWeber.com. Our Towser is the finest dog that ever wore a collar. We wouldn't sell him. No, indeed, not even for $1. I understand his language now, 'cause honest it appears that dogs can talk and say a lot with just their tails and ears. When I come home from school, he meets me with a joyous bound and shakes that long tail sideways, down and up and round and round. Pa says he's going to hang a rug beside the door to see if Towser will not beat it while he's busy greeting me. Then when he sees me get my hat but thinks he cannot go, his ears get limp, his tail droops down, and he just walks off slow. Though if I say the magic words, "Well, Towser, want to come?" Why, say, you'd know he answered yes, although at speech he's dumb. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Dog's Loyalty by J. Earl Clauson. Read for LibriVox by Roxanne Weber. RoxanneWeber.com. Many a good and useful quality and virtue, too. Attachment never to be weaned or changed by any change of fortune. Proof alike against unkindness, absence, and neglect. Fidelity that neither bribe nor threat can move or warp. And gratitude for small and trivial favors, lasting as the life, and glistening even in the dying eye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Part 3 of A Dog's Book of Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. A Dog's Book of Verse, collected by J. Earl Clauson. Part 3, The Dog in Action. Course, hunt in the hills, in valley or in plain, he joys to run and stretch out every limb, to please but thee he spareth for no pain. His hurt, for thee, is greatest good to him. In fields abroad he looks unto thy flocks, keeping them safe from wolves and other beasts, and oftentimes he bears away the knocks of some odd thief that many a fold infests. Told to a Missionary by George R. Sims. Just looky here, Mr. Preacher, you're a-goin' a bit too fur. There isn't the man as is livin' as I'd say a word agin her. She's a rum-lookin' bitch that I own to, and there is a fierce look in her eyes. But if any cove says she's vicious, I says in his teeth he lies. Saw, gently, old woman, come here now, and set by my side on the bed. I wonder who'll have yer, my beauty, when him as you're all to's dead. There, stow your palaver a mint. I knows as my end is nigh. Is a cove to turn round on his dog, like just 'cause he's goin' to die? Oh, of course, I was startin' you'd say it. It's allus the same with you. Give it us straight now, guv'nor. What would you have me do? Think of my soul? I do, sir. Think of my Saviour? Right. Don't be afeard of the bitch, sir. She's not a-goin' to bite. Tell me about my Saviour. Tell me that tale again. How he prayed for the coves as killed him, and died for the worst of men. It's a tale I always liked, sir, and bound for the eternal shore. I thinks it aloud to myself, sir, and I likes it more and more. I've thumbed it out in the Bible, and I know it now by heart, and it's put the steam in my boiler and made me ready to start. I ain't not afraid to die now. I've been a bit bad in my day, but I know when I knock at them portals there's one as won't say me nay. And it's thinking 'bout that story and all as he did for us as make me so fond of my dogs, sir, especially now I'm wuss. For a saving of folks who'd kill us is a beautiful act, the which I never heard tell on no one 'cept a him and that there bitch. 'Twas 5 years ago come Christmas, maybe you remember that row. There was scares about hydrophoby, same as there be just now, and the bobbies came down on us costers, came in a reg'lar wax, and them as had got no license was summoned to pay the tax. But I had a friend among 'em, and he came in a friendly way, and he says, "You must settle your dog bill, unless you've a mind to pay." Missus was dying with fever. I'd made a mistake in my pitch. I couldn't afford to keep her, so I says, "I'll drown the bitch." I wasn't a-going to lose her. I wasn't such a brute, you bet, as to leave her to die by inches of hunger and cold and wet. I never said now to the missus. We both on us liked her well, but I takes her the follerin' Sunday down to the Grand Canal. I gets her tight by the collar, the Lord forgive my sin, and kneeling down on the towpath I ducks the poor beast in. She gave just a sudden whine like, then a look comes into her eyes as'll last forever in mine, sir, up to the day I dies. And a chill came over my heart then, and thinking I heard her moan, I held her below the water, beating her skull with a stone. You can see the mark of it now, sir, that place on the top of her head, and sudden she ceased to struggle, and I fancied as she was dead. I shall never know how it happened, but going to lose my hold, my knee slipped over the towpath, and into the stream I rolled. Down like a log I went, sir, and my eyes were filled with mud, and the water was tinged above me with a murdered critter's blood. I gave myself up for lost then. I cursed in my wild despair, and sudden I rose to the surface, and something grabbed at my hair and loosed it and grabbed me again by the throat, and she was holding my head up, and somehow I kept afloat. I can't tell you how she done it, for I never knowed no more till somebody seized my collar and gave me a lug ashore, and my head was queer and dizzy, but I see as the bitch was weak, and she lay on her side a-pantin', waiting for me to speak. What did I do with her, eh? You'd hardly need an axe, but I sold my bar a Monday and paid the bloomin' tax. That's right, Mr. Preacher, pat her. You ain't afeard of her now. Dang this here tellin' of stories. Look at the muck on my brow. I'm weaker and weaker and weaker. I fancy the end ain't fur, but you know why here on my deathbed I think of the Lord and her, and He who by men's hands tortured uttered that prayer divine. Oh, pardon me, linking Him like with a dog as forgave like mine. When the Lord in His mercy calls me to my last eternal pitch, I know as you'll treat her kindly. Promise to take my bitch. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dog of the Louvre by Rafe Cecil. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. With gentle tread, with uncovered head, pass by the Louvre gate, where buried lie the men of July, and flowers are hung by the passers-by, and the dog howls desolate. That dog had fought in the fierce onslaught, had rushed with his master on, and both fought well, but the master fell, and behold the surviving one. By his lifeless clay, shaggy and gray, his fellow warrior stood, nor moved beyond, but mingled fond big tears with his master's blood. Vigil he keeps by those green heaps that tell where heroes lie. No passer-by can attract his eye, for he knows it is not he. At the dawn, when dew wets the garlands new that are hung in this place of mourning, he will start to meet the coming feet of him whom he dreamt returning. On the grave's wood cross, when the chaplets toss by the blast of midnight shaken, how he howleth, hark! From that dwelling dark, the slain he would fain awaken. When the snow comes fast on the chilly blast, blanching the bleak churchyard, with limbs outspread on the dismal bed of his liege he still keeps guard. Oft in the night, with main and might, he strives to raise the stone. Short respite takes. If master wakes, he'll call me, then sleeps on. Of bayonet blades, of barricades, and guns he dreams the most. Starts from his dream, and then would seem to eye a pleading ghost. He'll linger there in sad despair, and die on his master's grave. His home, 'tis known to the dead alone, he's the dog of the nameless brave. Give a tear to the dead, and give some bread to the dog of the Louvre gate, where buried lie the men of July, and flowers are hung by the passers-by, and the dog howls desolate. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Chase by Lord Somerville. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Huntsmen, take heed! They stop in full career. Yon crowding flock, that at a distance gaze, have haply foiled the turf. See that old hound! How busily he works, but dares not trust. His doubtful sense draws yet a wider ring. Hark! Now again the chorus fills, as bells, sallied awhile, at once their paean renew, and high in air the tuneful thunder rolls. See how they toss, with animated rage, recovering all they lost. That eager haste some doubling while foreshows. Ah, yet once more! They're checked, hold back with speed on either hand. They flourish round, e'en yet persist, 'tis right. Away they spring, the rustling stubbles bend beneath the driving storm. Now the poor chase begins to flag, to her last shifts reduced. From brake to brake she flies, and visits all her well-known haunts, where once she ranged secure. With love and plenty blest, see, there she goes! She reels along, and by her gait betrays her inward weakness. See how black she looks! The sweat that clogs the obstructed pores scarce leaves a languid scent. And now, in open view, see, see, she flies! Each eager hound exerts his utmost speed, and stretches every nerve. How quick she turns, their gaping jaws eludes, and yet a moment lives, till, round enclosed by all the greedy pack with infant screams, she yields her breath, and there, reluctant dies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Underdog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Aram Lee. I know that the world, the great big world, will never a moment stop to see which dog may be in the fault, but will shout for the dog on top. But, for me, I shall never pause to ask which dog may be in the right, for my heart will beat, while it beats at all, for the underdog in the fight. End of poem. The Shepherd and His Dog by William Lyle Bowles. My dog and I are both grown old. On these wild downs we watch all day. He looks in my face when the wind blows cold, and thus, methinks I hear him say, the grey stone circlet is below, the village smoke is at our feet. We nothing hear but the sailing crow and wandering flocks that roam and bleat. Far off, the early horseman hies, in shower or sunshine, rushing on. Yonder, the dusty whirlwind flies. The distant coach is seen and gone. Though solitude around is spread, Master, alone thou shalt not be. And when the turf is on thy head, I only shall remember thee. I marked his look of faithful care. I placed my hand on his shaggy side. There's a sun that shines above, a sun that shines on both, I cried. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Beth Gelert by William Robert Spencer. Read for LibriVox.org by Ed Humple. The spearman heard the bugle sound, and cheerily smiled the morn, and many a brock and many a hound attend Llewellyn's horn. And still he blew a louder blast, and gave a louder cheer. Come, Gelert, why art thou the last Llewellyn's horn to hear? Oh, where does faithful Gelert roam, the flower of all his race? So true, so brave, a lamb at home, a lion in the chase. In sooth he was a peerless hound, the gift of royal John, but now no Gelert could be found, and all the chase rode on. And now as over rocks and dells the gallant chidings rise, all Snowdon's craggy chaos yells with many mingled cries. That day Llewellyn little loved the chase of hart or hare, and small and scant the booty proved, for Gelert was not there. Unpleased, Llewellyn homeward hied, when near the portal seat, his truant Gelert he espied, bounding his lord to meet. But when he gained the castle door, aghast the chieftain stood. The hound was smeared with gouts of gore, his lips and fangs ran blood. Llewellyn gazed with wild surprise, unused such looks to meet. His favorite checked his joyful guise, and crouched and licked his feet. Onward in haste Llewellyn passed, and on went Gelert too, and still where'er his eyes were cast, fresh blood gouts shocked his view. O'erturned his infant's bed he found, the blood-stained coverlet rent, and all around the walls and ground with recent blood besprent. He called the child, no voice replied, he searched with terror wild. Blood, blood he found on every side, and nowhere found the child. Hellhound, by thee my child's devoured, the frantic father cried, and to the hilt his vengeful sword he plunged in Gelert's side. His supplicant, as to earth he fell, no pity could impart, but still his Gelert's dying yell passed heavy o'er his heart. Aroused by Gelert's dying yell, some slumberer wakened nigh. What words the parent's joy can tell, to hear his infant cry. Concealed beneath a mangled heap his hurried search had missed, all glowing from his rosy sleep, his cherub boy he kissed. nor scratch had he, nor harm, nor dread, but the same couch beneath lay a great wolf, all torn and dead, tremendous still in death. Ah, what was then Llewellyn's pain? For now the truth was clear. The gallant hound the wolf had slain to save Llewellyn's heir. Vain, vain was all Llewellyn's woe. Best of thy kind, adieu. The frantic deed which laid thee low this heart shall ever rue. And now a gallant tomb they raise, with costly sculpture decked, and marbles, storied with his praise, poor Gelert's bones protect. Here never could the spearman pass, or forester unmoved. Here oft the tear besprinkled glass Llewellyn's sorrow proved. And here he hung his horn and spear, and oft as evening fell, in fancy's piercing sounds would hear poor Gelert's dying yell. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Flag and the Faithful by William J. Lambton and A Guardian at the Gate by John Clare. Read for LibriVox.org by Tricia G. A Washington woman has made a loud outcry to the Secretary of War to reprimand the soldiers at the government aviation station for burying their faithful dog, Mugsy, wrapped in the Stars and Stripes. Ah, Mugsy, good and faithful dog, gone to your rest. You served your country and your flag the very best that lay within your humble power, and in that far have been much better than some men and women are. As you had lived, good dog, you died, and it is meet the flag you served your best should be your winding sheet. William J. Lambton. A Guardian at the Gate. The dog beside the threshold lies, mocking sleep with half-shut eyes, with head crouched down upon his feet, till strangers pass his sunny seat. Then quick he pricks his ears to hark, and bustles up to growl and bark, while boys in fear stop short their song, and sneak in startled speed along. And beggar, creeping like a snail, to make his hungry hopes prevail o'er the warm heart of charity, leaves his lame halt and hastens by. John Clare. End of poems. This recording is in the public domain.
A Tale of the Reign of Terror by Caroline Bowles Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Elizabeth Buchanan. 'Twas in a neighboring land what time the reign of terror triumphed there, and every horrid shape of crime stalked out from murder's bloody lair. 'Twas in those dreadful times there dwelt, in Lyons, that defiled with blood, a loyal family that felt the earliest fury of the flood. Wife, children, friends it swept away, from wretched Valrive one by one, himself severely doomed to stay, till everything he loved was gone. A man prescribed, whom not to shun was danger, almost fate to brave, so all forsook him, all save one faithful, humble, powerless slave. His dog, old Nina. She had been, when they were boys, his children's mate, his gallant Claude, his mild Eugene, both gone before him to their fate. They spurned her off, but evermore, surmounting e'en her timid nature, love brought her to the prison door, and there she crouched, fond, faithful creature, watching so long, so piteously, that e'en the jailer, man of guilt, of rugged heart, was moved to cry, Poor wretch, there enter if thou wilt. And who than Nina more content, when she had gained that dreary cell, where lay in helpless dreariment the master loved so long and well. And when into his arms she leapt, in her old fond familiar way, and close into his bosom crept, and licked his face, a feeble ray of something, not yet comfort, stole upon his heart's stern misery, and his lips moved, Poor loving fool, then all have not abandoned me. The hour by grudging kindness spared expired too soon, the friends must part, and Nina from the prison gazed with lingering pace and heavy heart. Shelter and rest and food she found, with one who for the master's sake through grim suspicion stalked around, dared his old servant home to take. Beneath that friendly roof each night she stayed, but still returning day, aye, the first beam of dawning light beheld her on her anxious way. Towards the prison, there to await the hour when through that dismal door the keeper, half compassionate, should bid her enter as before. And well she seemed to comprehend the time appointed for her stay. The little hour that with her friend she tarried there was all her day. At last the captive's summons came. They led him forth his doom to hear. No tremor shook his thrice-nerved frame, whose heart was dead to hope and fear. So with calm step he moved along, and calmly faced the murderous crew, but close and closer for the throng poor Nina to her master drew. And she has found a resting place between his knees, her old safe home, and she looks round in every face as if to read his written doom. 'Twas but a step in those dread days, from trial to the guillotine, a moment, and Valrive surveys with steadfast eye the fell machine. He mounts the platform, takes his stand before the fatal block, and kneels in preparation. But his hand a soft warm touch that moment feels. His eyes glance downward, and a tear, the last tear they shall ever shed, falls as he utters, "Thou still here?" upon his faithful servant's head. Yes, she is there. That hellish shout, that deadly stroke, she hears them plain, and from the headless trunk starts out, e'en o'er her, the bloody rain. Old faithful Nina, there lies she, her cold head on the cold earth pressed, as it was wont so lovingly to lie upon her master's breast. And there she stayed the livelong day, mute, motionless, her sad watch keeping. A stranger who had passed that way would have believed her dead or sleeping. But if a step approached the grave, her eye looked up with jealous care, imploringly, as if to crave that no rude foot should trample there. That night she came not, as of late, to her old charitable home. The next day's sun arose and set, night fell, and still she failed to come. Then the third day her pitying host went kindly forth to seek his guest, and found her at her mournful post, stretched quietly, as if at rest. Yet she was not asleep nor dead, and when her master's friend she saw, the poor old creature raised her head, and moaned, and moved one feeble paw, but stirred not thence, and all in vain he called, caressed her, would have led, tried threats, then coaxing words again, brought food, she turned away her head. So with kind violence at last he bore her home with gentle care. In her old shelter tied her fast, placed food beside, and left her there. But ere the hour of rest again, he visited the captive's shed, and there the cord lay gnawed in twain, the food untasted, she was fled. And vexed he cried, "Perverse old creature! Well, let her go, I've done my best." But there was something in his nature, a feeling that would not let him rest. So with the early light once more toward the burial ground went he, and there he found her as before, but not as then stretched quietly, for she had worked the long night through, and the strong impulse of despair, down into the grave, and now, panting and weak, still labored there. But death's cold stiffening frost benumbs her limbs, and clouds her heavy eye, and hark! her feeble moan becomes a shriek of human agony, as if before her task was over she feared to die in her despair. But see! Those last faint strokes uncover a straggling lock of thin gray hair. One struggle, one convulsive start, and there the face beloved lies. Now be at peace, thou faithful heart. She licks the livid lips and dies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. An Elegy on the Death of a Mad Dog by Oliver Goldsmith. Read for LibriVox.org by Elizabeth Buchanan. Good people all, of every sort, give ear unto my song, and if you find it wondrous short, it cannot hold you long. In Islington there was a man, of whom the world might say, that still a godly race he ran, whene'er he went to pray. A kind and gentle heart he had, to comfort friends and foes. The naked every day he clad, when he put on his clothes. And in that town a dog was found, as many dogs there be, both mongrel, puppy, whelp, and hound, and curs of low degree. The dog and man at first were friends, but when a pique began, the dog, to gain some private ends, went mad and bit the man. Around from all the neighbouring streets the wondering neighbours ran, and swore the dog had lost his wits to bite so good a man. The wound it seemed both sore and sad to every Christian eye, and while they swore the dog was mad, they swore the man would die. But soon a wonder came to light, that showed the rogues they lied. The man recovered of the bite, the dog it was that died. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Fusiliers Dog by Francis Doyle. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Go lift him gently from the wheels, and soothe his dying pain, for love and care e'en yet he feels, though love and care be vain. 'Tis sad that, after all these years, our comrade and our friend, the brave dog of the Fusiliers, shall meet with such an end. Up Alma's hill, among the vines, we laughed to see him trot, then frisk along the silent lines to chase the rolling shot. And, when the work waxed hard by day, and hard and cold by night, when that November morning lay upon us like a blight, and eyes were strained and ears were bent against the muttering north, till the gray mist took shape and sent gray scores of Russians forth, beneath that slaughter wild and grim, nor man nor dog would run. He stood by us, and we by him, till the great fight was done. And right throughout the snow and frost he faced both shot and shell. Though unrelieved, he kept his post, and did his duty well. By death on death the time was stained, by want, disease, despair. Like autumn leaves our army waned, but still the dog was there. He cheered us through those hours of gloom, we fed him in our dearth. Through him the trench's living tomb rang loud with reckless mirth. And thus, when peace returned once more, after the city's fall, that veteran home in pride we bore, and loved him one and all. With ranks refilled, our hearts were sick, and to old memories clung. The grim ravines we left glared thick with death stones of the young. Hands which had patted him lay chill, voices which called were dumb, and footsteps that he watched for still never again could come. Never again this world of woe still hurries on so fast. They come not back, 'tis he must go to join them in the past. There, with brave names and deeds entwined, which time may not forget, young Fusiliers unborn shall find the legend of our pet. Whilst o'er fresh years in other life, yet in God's mystic urn, the picture of the mighty strife arises sad and stern. Blood all in front, behind far shrines, with women weeping low, for whom each lost one's fane but shines, as shines the moon on snow. Marked by the medal his of right, and by his kind, keen face, under that visionary light, poor Bob shall keep his place. And never may our honored Queen for love and service pay, less brave, less patient, or more mean than his we mourn to-day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Fidelity by William Wordsworth. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. A barking sound the shepherd hears, a cry as of a dog or fox. He halts and searches with his eyes among the scattered rocks, and now at distance can discern a stirring in a brake of fern, and instantly a dog is seen glancing through that covert green. The dog is not of mountain breed, its motions, too, are wild and shy, with something, as the shepherd thinks, unusual in its cry. Nor is there any one in sight, all round in hollow or on height, nor shout nor whistle strikes his ear. What is the creature doing here? It was a cove, a huge recess, that keeps till June, December's snow, a lofty precipice in front, a silent tarn below. Far in the bosom of Helvellyn, remote from public road or dwelling, pathway or cultivated land, from trace of human foot or hand, there sometimes doth a leaping fish send through the tarn a lonely cheer. The crags repeat the raven's croak in symphony austere. Thither the rainbow comes, the cloud, and mists that spread the flying shroud, and sunbeams, and the sounding blast, that, if it could, would hurry past, but that enormous barrier binds it fast. Not free from boding thoughts awhile, the shepherd stood, then makes his way towards the dog o'er rocks and stones, as quickly as he may. Not far had gone before he found a human skeleton on the ground. The appalled discoverer, with a sigh, looks round to learn the history, from whose abrupt and perilous rocks the man had fallen, that place of fear. At length upon the shepherd's mind it breaks, and all is clear. He instantly recalled the name, and who he was, and whence he came. Remembered, too, the very day on which the traveller passed this way. But hear a wonder, for whose sake this lamentable tale I tell. A lasting monument of words this wonder merits well. The dog, which still was hovering nigh, repeating the same timid cry, this dog had been through 3 months' space a dweller in that savage place. Yes, proof was plain that since the day when this ill-fated traveller died, the dog had watched about the spot, or by his master's side. How nourished here through such long time, he knows who gave that love sublime, and gave that strength of feeling great, above all human estimate. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shepherd Dog of the Pyrenees by Ellen Murray. read4LibriVox.org by Trisha G. Traveler. Begone you, sir. Here, shepherd, call your dog. Shepherd. Be not affrighted, madame. Poor Pierrot will do no harm. I know his voice is gruff, but then his heart is good. Traveler. Well, call him then. I do not like his looks. He's growling now. Shepherd. Madame had better drop that stick. Pierrot, he is as good a Christian as myself, and does not like a stick. Traveler. Such a fierce look, and such great teeth. Shepherd. Ah, bless poor Pierrot's teeth. Good cause have I and mine to bless those teeth. Come here, my Pierrot. Would you like to hear, madame, what Pierrot's teeth have done for me? Traveler. Torn a gaunt wolf, I'll warrant. Shepherd. Do you see, on that high ledge, a cross of wood that stands against the sky? Traveler. Just where the cliff goes down 100 fathoms sheer, a wall of rock to where the river foams along its bed? I've often wondered who was brave to plant a cross on such an edge. Shepherd. Myself, madame, that the good God might know I gave him thanks. One night, it was November, black and thick, the fog came down, when as I reached my house, Marie came running out. Our little one, our 4-year Louis, so she cried, was lost. I called Pierrot, Go, seek him, find my boy. And off he went. Marie ran crying loud to call the neighbors. They and I, we searched all that dark night. I called Pierrot in vain. Whistled and called, and listened for his voice. He always came or barked at my first word, but now he answered not. When day at last broke, and the gray fog lifted, there I saw on that high ledge, against the dawning light, my little one asleep, sitting so near that edge that as I looked his red barrette fell from his nodding head down the abyss. And there behind him crouched Pierrot, his teeth, his good strong teeth, clenching the jacket brown, holding the child in safety. With wild bounds, swift as the gray wolf's own, I climbed the steep, and as I reached them, Pierrot beat his tail and looked at me, so utterly distressed, with eyes that said, Forgive, I could not speak, but never loosed his hold till my dear rogue was safe within my arms. Aha, Pierrot, Madame forgives your barking and your teeth. I knew she would. Traveler. Come here, Pierrot, good dog. Come here, poor fellow, faithful friend and true. Come, come, be friends with me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dog Under the Wagon by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Come, wife, said good old Farmer Gray, put on your things, 'tis market day, and we'll be off to the nearest town, there and back ere the sun goes down. Spot? No, we'll leave old Spot behind. But Spot he barked, and Spot he whined, and soon made up his doggish mind to follow under the wagon. Away they went at a good round pace, and joy came into the farmer's face. Poor Spot, said he, did want to come, but I'm awful glad he's left at home. He'll guard the barn, and guard the cot, and keep the cattle out of the lot. I'm not so sure of that, thought Spot, the dog under the wagon. The farmer all his produce sold, and got his pay in yellow gold. Home through the lonely forest, hark! A robber springs from behind a tree. "Your money or else your life," says he. The moon was up, but he didn't see the dog under the wagon. Spot ne'er barked and Spot ne'er whined, but quickly caught the thief behind. He dragged him down in the mire and dirt, and tore his coat and tore his shirt, then held him fast on the miry ground. The robber uttered not a sound, while his hands and feet the farmer bound, and tumbled him into the wagon. So Spot he saved the farmer's life, the farmer's money, the farmer's wife, and now a hero grand and gay, a silver collar he wears today. Among his friends, among his foes, and everywhere his master goes, he follows on his horny toes, the dog under the wagon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sal's Towser and My Trouser. A Rustic Idyll by a Rustic Idler. By Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. But yesteryeun I loved thee whole, O fashionable and baggy trouser, and now I loathe and hate the whole, and thee I do, I trow, sir. I sallied out to see my Sal, across yon round hill's brow, sir. I didn't know she, charming gal, had a dog, a trouser browser. I'd sauntered in quite trim and spruce, when on a sudden, oh, my trouser, I felt thee seized where thou'rt most loose. I tarried there with Towser, I on the fence, he down below, and thou the cupola, my trouser. I thought he never would let go this gentle Towser. They say that fashion cuts thee loose, but not so fashioned is Sal's Towser. Thou gavest away at last no use to tarry, tarried trouser. Miss Sarah, she is wondrous sweet, and I'd have once loved to espouse her, but my calling trouser has no seat, I left it there with Towser. So all unseated is my suit, I must eschew Miss Sarah now, sir. He's chewed my trouser, 'twouldn't suit me to meet Towser. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Rover in Church by James Buckham. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. 'Twas a Sunday morning in early May, a beautiful, sunny, quiet day, and all the village, old and young, had trooped to church when the church bell rung. The windows were open, and the breezes sweet fluttered the hymn books from seat to seat. Even the birds in the pale-leaved birch sang as softly as if in church. Right in the midst of the minister's prayer, there came a knock at the door. "Who's there?" I wonder, the gray-haired sexton thought, as his careful ear the tapping caught. Rap, 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 a louder sound. The boys on the back seats turned around. What could it mean? For never before had any one knocked at the old church door. Again the tapping, and now so loud. The minister paused, though his head was bowed. Rappity rap, this will never do. The girls are peeping and laughing too. So the sexton tripped o'er the cracking floor, lifted the latch and opened the door. In there trotted a big black dog, as big as a bear, with a solemn jog. Right up the center aisle he pattered. People might stare, it little mattered. Straight he went to a little maid, who blushed and hid, as though afraid, and there sat down, as if to say, "I'm sorry that I was late to-day, but better late than never, you know. Beside, I waited an hour or so, and couldn't get them to open the door, till I wagged my tail and bumped the floor. Now, little mistress, I'm going to stay, and hear what the minister has to say." The poor little girl hid her face and cried, but the big dog nestled close to her side, and kissed her, dog fashion, tenderly, wondering what the matter could be. The dog being large, and the sexton small, he sat through the sermon and heard it all, as solemn and wise as any one there, with a very dignified, scholarly air. And instead of scolding, the minister said, as he laid his hand on the sweet child's head, after the service, "I never knew two better listeners than Rover and you." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Part 4 of A Dog's Book of Verse. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Larry Wilson. A Dog's Book of Verse, collected by J. Earl Clauson. Part 4. The Dog's Hereafter. O Indra, and what of this dog? It hath faithfully followed me through. Let it go with me into heaven, for my soul is full of compassion. Billy, by Lorenzo Sears. Dear Billy, of imperious bark, when stranger's step fell on thy ear, who oft inspired with wholesome fear a prowling boy in shadows dark, but oftener hailed with joyous cry some friendly face returning home, or wild with glee the fields to roam, and still and cold thou here dost lie. Frail vines that from the garden wall crept blooming o'er thy lowly bed, elm branches drooping overhead, and dying leaves that wavering fall, in other forms of life enrolled, shall live in ages yet to be, and shall a mind from body free lie buried dark beneath the mould? He loved us all, and none forgot. He guessed whate'er was done or told, dreamed of adventures free and bold. For him is there no future lot? If love is life and thought is mind, and all shall last beyond the years, and memory live in other spheres, my steadfast friend may I not find? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Bond by George H. Nettle. Read for LibriVox.org by Damla Ozdemir. When I call my terrier by his name, or join him in evening play, his eyes will flash with a human flame, and he looks what he cannot say. For the bond between us two is that between me and you. Should a seraph sing in my ear tonight, or a sweet voiced angel come, would poor speech prove my soul's delight, or ecstasy drive me dumb? For the link twixt them and me is long as eternity. Wide leagues our sentient forms divide, the loftier from the mean, but soul to soul all plains are tied, when sympathy lies between. And who shall say that the brute is soulless, though mean and mute. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To a Dog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. On every side I see your trace, your water trough scarce dry, your empty collar in its place provokes the heavy sigh. And you were here 2 days ago. There's little changed, I see. The sun is just as bright, but oh, the difference to me. The very print of your small pad is on the whitened stone. Where, by what ways, or sad or glad, do you fare on alone? O little face, so merry wise, brisk feet and eager bark, the house is lonesome for your eyes, my spirit somewhat dark. Now, small invincible friend, your love is done, your fighting o'er. No more your wandering feet will rove beyond your own house door. The cats that feared, their hearts are high. The dogs that loved will gaze long, long ere you come passing by with all your jovial ways. The accursed archer who has sent his arrow all too true would that his evil days were spent ere he took aim at you. Your honest face, your winsome ways haunt me, dear little ghost, and everywhere I see your trace, O well beloved and lost. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Canine Immortality by Robert Southey. Read for LibriVox.org by Savnaray. And they have drowned thee then at last. Poor Phyllis, the burden of old age was heavy on thee, and yet thou shouldst have lived. What though thine eye was dim, and watched no more with eager joy the wonted call that on thy dull sense sunk with fruitless repetition, the warm sun might still have cheered thy slumber. Thou didst love to lick the hand that fed thee, and though past youth's active season, even life itself was comfort. Poor old friend, how earnestly would I have pleaded for thee! Thou hadst been still the companion of my childish sports, and as I roamed o'er Avon's woody cliffs, from many a daydream has thy short, quick bark recalled my wandering soul. I have beguiled often the melancholy hours at school, soured by some little tyrant, with the thought of distant home, and I remembered then thy faithful fondness, for not mean the joy, returning at the pleasant holidays, I felt from thy dumb welcome. Pensively sometimes have I remarked the slow decay, feeling myself changed too, and musing much on many a sad vicissitude of life. Ah, poor companion, when thou followedst last thy master's parting footsteps to the gate which closed forever on him, thou didst lose thy truest friend, and none was left to plead for the old age of brute fidelity. But fare thee well, mine is no narrow creed, and he who gave thee being did not frame the mystery of life to be the sport of merciless man. There is another world for all that live and move, a better one, where the proud bipeds, who would fain confine infinite goodness to the little bounds of their own charity, may envy thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Friendly Welcome by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. 'Tis sweet to hear the watchdog's honest bark, bay deep-mouthed welcome as we draw near home. 'Tis sweet to know there is an eye will mark our coming, and look brighter when we come. End of poem. Exemplary Nick by Sydney Smith. Here lies poor Nick, an honest creature, of faithful, gentle, courteous nature, a parlor pet, unspoiled by favor, a pattern of good dog behavior, without a wish, without a dream, beyond his home and friends at Cineam. Contentedly through life he trotted, along the path that Faith allotted, till time, his aged body wearing, bereaved him of his sight and hearing, then laid him down, without a pain, to sleep and never wake again. End of poem. The Difference, by Anonymous. My dog, the difference between thee and me knows only our Creator, only He can number the degrees in being's scale, between the instinctive lamp, never known to fail, and that less steady light of brighter ray, the soul which animates thy Master's clay. And He alone can tell by what fond tie, my look thy life, my death thy sign to die. Know, when that feeling quits thy glazing eye, 'twill live in some blest world beyond the sky. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Laddie, by Catherine Lee Bates. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Lowly the soul that waits at the white celestial gates, a threshold soul to greet beloved feet. Down the streets that are beams of sun, cherubim children run. They welcome it from the wall, their voices call. But the warder saith, nay, this is the city of holy bliss. What claim canst thou make good to angelhood? Joy, answereth it from eyes that are amber ecstasies, listening, alert, elate, before the gate. Oh, how the frolic feet on lonely memory beat! What rapture in a run 'twixt snow and sun! Nay, brother of the sod, what part hast thou in God? What spirit art thou of? It answers, love, lifting its head no less, cajoling a caress. Our winsome collie wraith, then in glad faith the door will open wide, or kind voice bid abide. A threshold soul to greet the longed for feet. Ah, keeper of the portal, if love be not immortal, if joy be not divine, what prayer is mine? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dog's Epitaph by Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. When some proud son of man returns to earth, unknown to glory, but upheld by birth, the sculptor's art exhausts the pomp of woe, and storied urns record who rests below. When all is done, upon the tomb is seen not what he was, but what he should have been. But the poor dog, in life the firmest friend, the first to welcome, foremost to defend, whose honest heart is still his master's own, who labours, fights, lives, breathes for him alone, unhonoured falls, unnoticed all his worth, denied in heaven the soul he held in earth. While man, vain insect, hopes to be forgiven, and claims himself a sole exclusive heaven. O man, thou feeble tenant of an hour, debased by slavery, or corrupt by power, who knows thee well must quit thee with disgust, degraded mass of animated dust. Thy love is lust, thy friendship all a cheat, thy smiles hypocrisy, thy words deceit. By nature vile, ennobled but by name, each kindred brute might bid thee blush for shame. Ye who perchance behold this simple urn, pass on, it honours none you wish to mourn. To mark a friend's remains, these stones arise. I never knew but one, and here he lies. End of poem. This recording is in a public domain. The Passing of a Dog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. This kindly friend of mine, who's passed beyond the realm of day, beyond the realm of darkling night, to unknown borne away, was one who deemed my humble home a palace grand and fair, whose fullest joy it was to find his comrade ever there. Ah, he has gone from out my life, like some dear dream I knew. A man may own 100 dogs, but one he loves, and true. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. My Dog by Anonymous. Read for LibriVox.org by Ian King. The curate thinks you have no soul. I know that he has none. But you, dear friend, whose solemn self-control in our foursquare familiar pew was pattern to my youth, whose bark called me in summer dawns to rove, have you gone down into the dark, where none is welcome, none may love? I will not think those good brown eyes have spent their light of truth so soon, but in some canine paradise your wraith, I know, rebukes the moon, and quarters every plain and hill, seeking its master. As for me, this prayer at least the gods fulfil, that when I pass the floor and see old Charon by the Stygian coast take toll of all the shades who land, your little faithful barking ghost may leap to lick my phantom hand. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Jack by H.P.W. Read for LibriVox.org by Saveneray. Dog Jack has gone on the silent trail, wherever that may be. But well I know when I whistle the call he will joyfully answer me. That call will be when I myself have passed through the gates of gold. He will come with a rush, and his soft brown eyes will glisten with love as of old. O warder of gates in the faraway land, this little black dog should you see, throw wide your doors that this faithful friend may enter and wait for me. End of poem. In Memory of Dawn by M.S.W. Our Dawn, only a dog. Yes, only a dog, you say, with a large, warm heart and a bright, brown eye, with an earnest bark and a warm caress for you and me and the friends he loved best. Oh, how we shall miss him, you and I, his noisy welcome and rough goodbye. Some time, somewhere, some day, I trust we shall meet again. Oh, yes, we must. And the joy of that meeting I dare not say. I mock ye skeptics, and laugh to scorn the faith I hold of all life that's born. It cannot be wasted, nor can it be lost. And oh, for the faith in the Indian's trust that Don and his mistress will meet some day, just over the river, not far away. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Roderick Dhu by Helen Fitzgerald Sanders. Read for LibriVox.org by Diana Schmidt. June 9th, 2015. You are just a poor dumb brute, my Roderick Dhu, and our scientific brethren scoff at you. They reason and they think, then they set it down in ink, and clinch it with their learned point of view. Even some divines deny you have a soul, and reject you from man's final heavenly goal. Your presence isn't wanted, you're not of the anointed, you're not upon the mighty judgment roll. Yet the truth shines from your eyes, my faithful friend, and your faithfulness doth that of men transcend. You would lie right down and die, without even wondering why, to save the man you loved and meet your end. When my heart was almost breaking, Roderick Dhu, who was it gave me sympathy but you? You crept so close to me, and you licked me tenderly, and not a human friend was half so true. And would I, reasoning wisely, pronounce you just a beast, your actions automatic, not conscious in the least? Set myself so high above you as not to know and love you, and toss you but a bone while I shall feast? My bonny collie, such wrong there shall not be, not for me to grasp at heaven and leave the dark for thee. You're nothing but a dog, not in heaven's catalogue, but whatsoever thy fate, the same for me. End of poem. Questions by William Hurrell Mallock. Where are you now, little wandering life, that so faithfully dwelt with us, played with us, fed with us, felt with us? Years we grew fonder and fonder in. You, who but yesterday sprang to us, are we forever bereft of you? And is this all that is left of you? One little grave, and a pang to us? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. His Epitaph by William Watson. Read for LibriVox.org by Diana Schmidt. June 9th, 2015. His friend he loves, his fellest earthly foes, cats, I believe he did but feign to hate. My hand will miss the insinuated nose, mine eyes the tail that wagged contempt at fate. End of poem. In Memoriam by Henry Willett. I miss the little wagging tail, I miss the plaintive pleading wail, I miss the wistful loving glance, I miss the circling welcome dance, I miss the eyes that watching sued, I miss her tongue of gratitude that licked my hand in loving mood when we divided cup or food. I miss the pertinacious scratch, continued till I raised the latch each morning, waiting at my door. Alas, I ne'er shall hear it more. What folly, hints the cynic mind, plenty of dogs are left behind, to snap and snarl, to bark and bite, and wake us in the gloomy night. You should have sought a human friend, whose life eternal ne'er could end, whose gifts of intellect and grace bereavement never could efface. Plenty of snarling things are left, but I am of a friend bereft. I seek not intellect, but heart. 'Tis not my head that feels the smart. While loving sympathy is cherished, while gratitude is not quite perished, while patient, hopeful, cheerful meeting at our return is pleasant greeting, so long my heart will feel a void, grieving my mind will be employed, when I, returning to my door, shall miss what I shall find no more. When we at last shall pass away, and see no more the light of day, will many hearts as vacant mourn, as truly wish for our return? Yet love that's true will ever know the pain of parting, better so. Better to love and lose, than cold and colder still let hearts grow old. So let the cynic snarl or smile, and his great intellect beguile. My little dog, so true to me, will dear to heart and memory be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Questions by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Read for LibriVox.org by Aaron Lee. Is there not something in the pleading eye of the poor brute that suffers, which arraigns the law that bids it suffer? Has it not a claim for some remembrance in the book that fills its pages with the idle words spoken of man? Or is it only clay, bleeding and aching in the potter's hand? Yet all his own to treat it as he will, and when he will to cast it at his feet, shattered, dishonored, lost for evermore? My dog loves me, but could he look beyond his earthly master? Would his love extend to him who— Hush! I will not doubt that he is better than our fears, and will not wrong the least, the meanest of created things. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Our Dog Jock by James Payn. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. A rollicksome, frolicsome, rare old cock, as ever did nothing, was our dog Jock. A gleesome, fleesome, affectionate beast, as slow at a fight, as swift at a feast. A wit among dogs, when his life gained fail, one couldn't but see the old wag in his tail. When his years grew long, and his eyes grew dim, and his course of bark could not strengthen him, never more now shall our knees be pressed by his dear old chops in their slobbery rest, nor mirth be stirred at his solemn looks, as wise and as dull as divinity books. Our old friend's dead, but we all well know he's gone to the kennels where the good dogs go, where the cooks be not, but the beef bones be, and his old head never need turn for a flea. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Tory a Puppy by Mortimer Collins, and On an Irish Retriever by Fanny Kemble Butler. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Tory a Puppy. He lies in the soft earth under the grass, where they who love him often pass, and his grave is under a tall young lime, in whose boughs the pale green hop flowers climb. But his spirit, where does his spirit rest? It was God who made him, God knows best. On an Irish Retriever. 10 years of loving loyalty, unthanked, should not go to earth, and I, who had no less from thee, devote this tribute to thy worth. For thou didst give to me, old friend, thy service while thy life did last. Thy life and service have an end, and here I thank thee for the past. Trusted and faithful, tried and true, watchful and swift to do my will, grateful for care that was thy due, to duty's call obedient still. From ill thou knewest thou didst refrain, the good thou knewest thou strove to do, nor dream of fame, nor greed of gain, man's keenest spurs urged thee thereto. Brute, with a heart of human love, and speechless soul of instinct fine, how few by reason's law who move deserve an epitaph like thine. End of poems. This recording is in the public domain. A Retriever's Epitaph by Robert C. Lehman. Read for LibriVox.org by Tricia G. Beneath this turf that formerly he pressed with agile feet, a dog is laid to rest. Him, as he sleeps, no well-known sound shall stir the rabbit's patter or the pheasant's whir. The keeper's over, far but well defined, that speeds the startled partridge down the wind, the whistled warning as the winged ones rise large and more large upon our straining eyes, till with a sweep, while every nerve is tense, the chattering covey hurtles o'er the fence, the double crack of every lifted gun, the dinting thud of birds whose course is done, these sounds, delightful to his listening ear, he heeds no longer, for he cannot hear. None stauncher, till the drive was done, defied temptation, rooted to his master's side. None swifter, when his master gave the word, leaped on his course to track the running bird, and bore it back, many a time and oft, his nose as faultless as his mouth was soft. How consciously, how proudly unconcerned, straight to his master's side he then returned, wagged a glad tail, and deemed himself repaid, as in that master's hand the bird he laid, if, while a word of praise was duly said, the hand should stroke his smooth and honest head. Through spring and summer, in the sportless days, cheerful he lived a life of simpler ways. Chose, since official dogs at times unbend, the household cat for confidant and friend. With children friendly, but untaught to fawn, romped through the walks and rollicked on the lawn, rejoiced, if one the frequent ball should throw, to fetch it, scampering gaily to and fro, content through every change of sportive mood, if one dear voice, one only, called him good. Such was my dog, who now, without my aid, hunts through the shadow land, himself a shade, or crouched intent before some ghostly gate, waits for my step, as here he used to wait. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of A Dog's Book of Verse, by J. Earl Clauson.